In a night where West Ham calls Wembley woe, this is your e-Spurs Extra Time podcast.
Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! Tottenham, Tottenham!
Hello, good afternoon and welcome. What a difference a week makes. This time last week, myself and my guest James McCarthy were singing all things Bernabeu. This week we'll be crying all things West Ham. James, how would you sum that one up? I guess you could say capitulation.
Capitulation completely. Yeah, what an absolutely gutting result. And it's the highs and lows of being a Spurs fan, isn't it? One week we're in the Bernabeu celebrating an absolutely brilliant performance. Next we come back to Wembley and smash Liverpool, and now we put out a second string side to West Ham. It's probably should have been a side that was good enough to beat them. And I think it's just down to complete complacency. We thought the game was won by half time, and after that, the first West Ham goal, our heads went down, and fair play to West Ham, I guess, for getting back into it. But yeah, no, a horrible result, and hopefully one that we can forget about soon.
It's never good to lose to West Ham. No one enjoys that, but the manner of defeat has got to rankle more, surely.
Yeah, and Pochettino, I'm pretty sure he would have put that across. He's not a manager who hides his feelings, and he certainly won't have hidden them to the players. I feel like they'll be feeling his wrath a little bit, because he's someone who prides himself on perfection, and the fact that the players got so complacent after going 2-0 up, and these are players who can't afford to be complacent. Players like Juan Foyth and Moussa Sissoko, you're not in the first team, and so you need to keep your head on for the entire game. And they thought the game was won, and just took our eye off the ball. It happens in football, and it won't be the first and it won't be the last time that it's happened. But I'm sure that Pochettino will be given his hairdryer treatment, I'm sure.
To be fair, in the press he said himself that he shoulders the blame, but I don't know whether that's to save face for some of the players that will be getting the hairdresser behind the scenes. But everyone waking up this morning, players, manager, fans alike, we'll all be sort of thinking, well, there's a missed opportunity, and certainly in terms of silverware, because we've sort of touched many times about how Tottenham need to get a trophy and build the mentality of winning things year on year. If we are going to win a trophy now, we're going to have to do it the whole way with one of the bigger competitions, but surely that would have been sort of the one to sort of get the monkey off our back and build from there. Yeah,
this side needs to win trophies. It's not a secret that this side it will never be seen as successful for finishing second in the Premier League or for making the Champions League knockout stages. It just won't happen. This side needs to win trophies. We need to have silverware in the cupboard, and you think this is a really easy opportunity. And we always said that Pochettino, you can't play the same 11 in every game, week in, week out. We know that. But you just look at our fringe players and you think that sometimes they're just not good enough. They aren't on the same level as our first team. We've said it many a time before that our second string replacements are just not good enough to replace our first team players. You look at the likes of Fernando Llorente. Yeah, he's a brilliant player for a plan B. We needed plan B in Madrid, and he was absolutely fantastic. But as a lone striker in that system, he just doesn't fit the bill like Harry Kane does. And not many players in the Premier League are on the same level as Harry Kane. But we need someone who's just a bit better quality. Another one is probably Juan Foyth. You think, yeah, he's a young prospect. He's a ball playing centre half. Is exactly what we need. But is he quite on the level to be pushing on that first team? Not quite. The only position I think we really have a bit of competition in is at the fullbacks at the moment, and Danny Rose just didn't look up to scratch either. So at the moment, if you're a first team player, a first 11 player for Spurs, you think your position's safe, and well, these players are obviously going to get complacent because there's no one really pushing them for their places because no one's playing well enough at the moment. And complacency is the key word for me. We were complacent at half time, and that's what happened. We're going to get complacent if these fringe players don't push for the first team.
I think it was the kind of night you needed someone like Cameron Carter-Vickers, because this Foyth is all sort of very well, and I'm sure he'll be a great player for the future, but still sort of relatively thrown into the deep end. I know he played against Barnsley, but I guess it's the argument where you don't get experience about playing games and such, but I think it's probably not the best centre-back trio. We've got our first listener's question. It's from @Farnham_Annam. And he says, what's your take on Ben Davies playing at centre-back as part of a three?
Well, we saw him play there for Wales. I think that's why Pochettino uses him there, because he clearly has the ability to play there. He played there for Wales at the European Championships even. So it's clear that he can play there. For me though, it's not something that we should be doing. It's not something that we should be utilising. If we are going to, surely we should be bringing in another centre half to play that position rather than shoehorning players into that position. Why not put Harry Winks in midfield and drop Eric Dyer into that third centre half place? It's easy to talk in hindsight. It's easy to be an armchair manager, so to speak. But for me, Ben Davies is not a left-sided centre back. He is a left back or a left wing back, and he's been playing that left wing back role all season, so he's probably used to it. And that's where the gaps came from, and West Ham utilised that.
Is there a sense where the fixture calendar has sort of conspired against us? Could you argue that had we not got Man United on Saturday, then we would have had a stronger team last night?
Yeah, we've always said that Pochettino needs to rotate. As I say, we can't play the same team week in, week out, and we've seen it with Harry Kane at the moment. There's an injury scare for Kane at the moment. They're saying that he's got a hamstring injury, but it is more than likely just down to tiredness and down to cramp because he's playing so much football, and especially playing in Pochettino's system, it requires so much running and so much hard work that you don't get a minute's breather, especially with that high press. That you don't. There's not a moment where you can kind of just walk for a little while, get on your haunches and get your breath back. It's breathless, and no wonder that players are becoming tired, and so Pochettino is forced to use the rotation system and bring through fringe players and youth players to plug the gaps. And at the moment, those fringe players and youth players are probably not cutting the mustard. They're not playing well enough to push the first team.
In terms of West Ham's victory, what was it really down to? Is it Tottenham thinking the job's already done, or is it Slaven Bilic giving some masterful team talk at half time, or somewhere sitting between the two?
I think Bilic is obviously under pressure and he needed the result, so there was probably some choice words from him. But I think that the onus has to be on Tottenham. We certainly thought the game was won at 2-0. To be fair, us as fans, we thought the game was won at 2-0 as well. And you look at Twitter and the West Ham fans are absolutely loving the fact that there's hundreds of thousands of tweets saying that the Spurs have got this game won, etc., etc. And so complacency is an easy thing. But for me, that's something that the players should have stamped out. We've got some experienced heads in that squad, and we really should have stamped it out. But for me, the performance in the second half was just a complete capitulation, and West Ham exploited the fact that the heads went down probably after the first goal. Well,
your man Sissoko got the opener, and I thought, hang on, this could be the night. Unfortunately, he didn't get the other two. But I
got excited. I thought this one's finally going to be the week, and I'm going to have listeners tweeting me saying that I've won them hundreds of pounds for betting on a Sissoko hat trick. But I think Sissoko scoring one goal is just as unlikely as him getting a hat trick. So it was actually a very good finish and a very good move. But he was one of the players who took his foot off the gas in the second half, and so he won't be remembered for the fact he scored a goal. It'll be the fact that Spurs lost 3-2 against West Ham.
Almost when 3-2 down, you've got a quandary in the sense that one thing you don't want is extra time, but then you've got to go and get a goal to stay in the cup. So it's a necessary evil, but then again, would extra time have been the worst thing we could have had? Say you got to extra time and then lost, so you've got an extra 30 minutes, more tired players for the weekend, or is it just you've just got to go for it and just see what comes?
I think, you're right. Extra time would have been horrible. It would have been an awful thing to have to sit through, and especially with the players being absolutely shattered as they are because of the fixtures and because of how it's all fallen. It probably would have been the worst case scenario. It might turn out to be a blessing in disguise that we're out of the cup, because it's a breather week, which we're probably going to need. We're definitely going to need playing the Champions League week in, week out as well. And so obviously it's fresh now. We've lost against West Ham, which is horrendous to take. We all predicted big wins for Spurs, but it wasn't to be. But come in a couple of weeks' time, we might be thanking it, because the players are absolutely shattered as it is, and they can get a breather when it's Cup week.
The Carabao Cup is a funny beast with fans. It's the equivalent of going up to a bar and asking a girl out, getting rejected and saying, I didn't fancy her anyway. Because when you're in it, you don't really care about it. When you're out of it, you really want to be back in it. So, you can't really win. Just some more questions. At Hasper92 asks, how deep is our squad really? He doesn't think it's deep as people thinks. Is that something you agree with?
Yeah, totally. I don't think it's depth as such. I think it's quality. As I say, you look at these players understudies and you think they're just not good enough. They don't fit the bill. So we might have the right numbers, but it's just not the quality there. Players like Nkudu, we haven't seen too much of him, but you wouldn't trust him to come in and fill in for like a Dele Alli. You wouldn't trust that at all. We've got players who at the moment are completely irreplaceable. Players like Christian Eriksen, we haven't got anyone who fits the bill to fill in for him. And when he's not on the pitch, we do lack creativity. But Eriksen can't play every game, and that's why we need that depth, that understudy who is not quite on the same level, but somewhere near it. And we haven't got anyone who's really somewhere near it. So, yeah, you're completely right in what you say. But it's not the deepest squad in the world, but hopefully it's something that can be addressed in summer. And I know that Pochettino's always looking at the youth teams and players like Harry Winks. We never had them down as understudies, but look at them now. So I think there's positives and negatives.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, you've got to take into account the summer. You might lose some players and you've got to buy more. So you might have net deficit or players. You don't really know what's going to happen. But some quick fire questions now. First up, at Senpai Jackson 1. She says, honest answer, do you think we'll win a trophy this season?
For me, no. I think that the Carabao Cup was one that we should have been targeting as winning a cup by February would have been absolutely fantastic, and it would set us up for the rest of the season. But I can't see us winning. Obviously, can't see us winning the Champions League. I think Man City are probably going to run away with the Premier League, and I think that the only viable option now is the FA Cup. If we are going to go for it in a cup, it will have to be that one. Fingers crossed for the Premier League. I think we will still be up and around there, but Man City are looking pretty strong at the moment, and unless we can get a result against them, they are probably going to run away with it. But at the moment it is fresh, and I am gutted that we're out of this cup, because it was one that we really should have been targeting to win, because, as I say, these players are going to be remembered on the basis of silverware, not on the basis of how well they've played or how spirited a performance it's been.
Well, this is the thing, really. Not winning a trophy this season makes it harder to keep your players in the summer. And again, it's only the Carabao Cup, but would have made a massive difference to say, look, this is the first step in the building block. I know we've got the stadium coming around the corner. That should be a pull on its own. Like you say, people want medals, don't they, as players? They don't want to just be getting fourth. If you're a grown-up, say if you're 70, 80, you're Harry Kane, and his grandkids say, Grandad, what did you win? Oh, I've just won some golden boots. Like, as a player, you'd probably be disappointed with that. So, yes, missed opportunity. Another question. At Come On You Spurs, Austin H. He asks, when Eric Lamela is back, how long do you reckon that Pochettino will wait to give him a place in the starting lineup?
I think it all depends on what his injury actually was. I'm still quite sceptical as to what Eric Lamela's injury actually was. I know they billed it as a hip injury, but is it a coincidence that he's available for the squad exactly a year after being out? I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. But Lamela is a player that I think Spurs can really use. I think he was absolutely fantastic before he got injured last season, and I think he's definitely the kind of player that fits Pochettino's system so well, because he's got that high energy, he fits the bill for the high press, he's nippy, he's very technical, he's got great technique, and so he's someone that we can definitely use. And so for me, I think Pochettino, he needs to get him back into the first 11 as soon as possible. I think Lamela's probably the closest thing that we've got to a Christian Eriksen backup in terms of creativity. I think he can probably play that I think kind of like a false nine role in behind Harry Kane. And and he certainly has it in there to be an assist king like Christian Eriksen. But yeah, hopefully he can get back into the first 11 soon and be pushing on and as I say, stopping the rot of players being complacent.
Here's another one. At Hump Doc says, close cup games and the Spurs team psychology. Discuss. Basically in brackets, are we bottlers?
Wow, bottlers. We've always been called bottlers, haven't we? It's something that's been going around for a couple of years now. But I think the thing we need to celebrate is that we are there. We're competing, and people are expecting things of us now, and that means that we really are a top club in England, top club in Europe, because we're expected to get results. We're expected to win trophies. The fact that we're not, is that a bit of an underachievement? Yeah, maybe, but I believe that at some point this trophy will come, even if it is a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup. But I think it is going to come if we keep on playing the same system. I still think that a Premier League is on the way because of how well we play in the Premier League. But it's impossible to look into the crystal ball and look into the future. Hopefully we can keep this band of players together, and there won't be any more Kyle Walker-like replacements, and players won't leave in search of silverware, brackets, money.
At only Excalispurs, he asked, "Are we in some virtual reality perpetuality?" Yeah, bloody hell, it's a tongue twister. Set up that Spurs never reached the line, so probably similar to the Hump Dot one. But are you a believer that we'll get there eventually? We've just got to be patient.
Yeah, definitely. Patience is something that football fans and especially Spurs fans as a whole don't have in abundance. But we do need a trophy fairly quick, I think. We need something to celebrate. And as you say, you say about Harry Kane with his grandchildren sat on his lap, he wants to get out a winners medal. That he doesn't want to tell his grandkids about how we kept the pressure on Leicester all season or kept the pressure on Chelsea. It's a running joke for against Spurs fans, really. But yeah, I think it's on the way, and when it happens, it'll be an even better moment because we've worked so hard for it and we've waited so long for it, and and this system that Pochettino's been playing has been implemented for a good couple of years now, and I think let's be confident it's on the way.
If we were to keep the pressure on, as you say, there could be the possibility that we would accumulate the most points over 3 seasons and not win the Premier League. Just always being there, but the champions always being below, but we're that consistent level, but not getting over the line. So how frustrating would that be?
Yeah, it's a typical always the bridesmaid, never a bride, isn't it? But I think we've got to be positive. Obviously, it's hard to be positive as a Spurs fan right now because we've just lost against West Ham. But yeah, if we keep playing the system, we've got the best manager in the country, if not the best manager in Europe. We've got some of the best personnel in Europe as well. The likes of Harry Kane can fire us to a trophy, I'm certain. And if we keep this band of players together, then possibilities are endless.
To be fair, from a podcasting point of view, a defeat does make it more interesting, but I don't really want to be talking about defeats week in, week out. I'm sure you agree, James.
Yeah, totally. Let's go back to winning ways this weekend.
Yes, and that fits in very nicely because I know we touched on the Man United game on our Monday show. I just want to sort of touch base again and sort of any different views after last night's performance. Do Man United become sort of clear favourites because the momentum's there from their Carabao Cup win, or do we have to just brush this one aside and just focus on our league form?
For me, it's 100% league form. You can't take the Carabao Cup too seriously because of the personnel we used. You think of the side that's going to go to Old Trafford is going to have Jan Vertonghen back. It's going to have Serge Aurier back. It's going to have Christian Eriksen back. Hopefully we'll have Harry Winks back as well. I think he's someone that really makes us tick at the moment. And fingers crossed we'll have Harry Kane back. He's obviously picked up a bit of an injury. It's not billed as an injury. It's more cramp due to tiredness. But he's had a bit of a breather now. And hopefully we can go to Old Trafford with Kane leading the line, because if we do go to Old Trafford without Kane leading the line, I think United will probably be rubbing their hands together at the fact that we'll probably lead with either Llorente or Heung-min Son. So, fingers crossed that we can have our best team back. And you saw what our first 11 did to Liverpool last week. Why can't we do the same to a Man United team that's probably got just as bad a defence?
Yeah, I think the Kane issue is going to be the one that sort of defines it, really. I was going to ask about Plan B, because Plan B last night didn't work. Would you go for Llorente up top, or would you go for the more sort of pace element of Son?
I think it's got to be Son. Llorente, the Plan B worked in Madrid because Llorente knew playing against Madrid. He was there as a support runner for Harry Kane. But for me, Son absolutely tore Liverpool apart and exploited the lack of pace at the back, and that's something that we need to do at Old Trafford. United went to Huddersfield and conceded 2 goals, and so that should be something that we're looking at. Huddersfield really lacking a goal scorer, scored twice against this Man United side. Lindelof had an absolute nightmare, in the same that Lovren had a nightmare for Liverpool last week. So these are the spaces that we should be exploiting. And for me, it has to be Son leading the line if we are going to be without Harry Kane. But fingers crossed that we can get Kane on the pitch at some point.
Do you think there could be a possibility where Kane is rested for the Real Madrid game the following midweek?
I think not. No, I think our position in the Champions League at the moment is probably better than our position in the Premier League. And we're not expected to get anything out of this clash with Real Madrid at Wembley. Whereas against Man United, I think this is probably the bigger game. That being said, obviously we're playing against the European champions. We're playing against the absolute giants of Real Madrid. But I think in terms of our season, I think the United game is probably more important. And if we are going to say only use Kane in one of them, I'd rather use him at Old Trafford than against Real Madrid.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. And I think that just about wraps things up for this show. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be recording Monday, myself, James, and a couple of guests. And we'll also be doing another extra time show next week. They're coming thick and fast, as we'll be talking all things Madrid. So, James, just like to say thanks for being on the show again.
No problem. Let's get over this West Ham result as quick as possible.
Yeah, let's put that one to bed. Just time for the social media bits. If you want to follow us on Twitter or Instagram, it's at @e_Spurs. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/e-Spurs page. We're also on YouTube, Pinterest or Tumblr. For all the links to all the e-Spurs platforms, just head to our website at www.e-spurs.com. Also, if you want to tweet a question to the show, it's at StanTracy93 or at e_Spurs. Also, if you want to be a guest or just get involved, then do contact us and we'll get you on the show at some point this season. So it just leaves me to say, my name's Dan Tracy, this is the e-Spurs podcast. Until Monday, good night.
No one can stop them.